How's it going, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome to another episode of Cosplay Con Talk, where we basically discuss everything pertaining to the cosplay community and conventions. Oh, sorry, this is like my third interview in a row for tonight. Um, Basically, cosplay con talks, get to know that cosplayer. We get to learn about how a cosplayer got started, what kind of cosplays they've done, and any advice they may like to share, and any other experiences and stuff like that. And tonight's featured guest is Rae Desu. How are we doing tonight, Rae?
I am doing well. How are you, Wayne?
I am doing well. Again, like I said, you were the third interview in a row. Jeez, I think I'm almost close to the mark. Before this year's out, separate the solo interviews I've done, almost close to 70 cosplayers,
Wow.
and close to like almost 80 podcast total for Cosplay Con Talk on my main Geeking Out series. So I've been busy,
Yeah.
and it's ever since February. Like as always, we're gonna, I'll be asking questions about your cosplay experience and journey and stuff like that. So to begin, how long have you been cosplaying for?
I have been cosplaying since 2003.
So that's what, almost 18 years.
Yes.
So you're definitely in that category, as I've mentioned in previous podcasts, a cosplay veteran.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a long, no, that's a long time. Recently talked to someone who's been cosplaying since 1991.
Yeah, that
1990.
that sounds about right. I know people who've been cosplaying that long too.
Oh, jeez, what's it been like cosplaying for almost 20 years?
Um, it's been phenomenal, honestly. I've got to meet a whole bunch of people. My best friends are all cosplayers. I used to be really shy and reserved, and cosplay has definitely helped open me up and become like a more outgoing person. And it's just been a completely great experience.
Oh, it sounds like it. Yeah, no, cosplaying that long, it sounds like you've also cosplayed some classic characters as well.
Yes. I mostly do Sailor Moon. She's one of my main cosplays, but I mean, I've done cosplays from you name it. I've probably cosplayed from it, honestly. I do a lot more older stuff. I've done Gundam Wing. I've done Ed from Cowboy Bebop. She was actually my very first cosplay that I ever did.
Ed is
I've
who's Ed? That is isn't that the one who wears the? All right, who's Ed again? The one with the white shirt and the shorts and the red
Yes.
hair.
Yes.
Okay, who I thought was honestly a boy when I first
Yes.
heard of that character.
I've also cosplayed from like Ranma, so I've done, various cosplays from all sorts of anime, both old and new stuff too, so
Nice.
yeah.
The next question before we talk about more of your cosplays, what was your very first convention back in 2003?
It was actually SakuraCon. My older brother went the year before, so he went in 2002, and he came up to me and was like, "Ray, there's this awesome convention that you can go to with people who like anime just like us." And I was like, "Oh my God, I need to be there." Like 14-year-old me was like, "I need to be there."
Nice.
Yeah.
Man, it's hard to believe that, um, conventions, especially like SakuraCon, have been out for that long. So I imagine, cosplaying for that long and going to conventions for that long, you've definitely, again, seen a drastic change from what cosplay and conventions used to be to how more normal, and I use that word heavily, and mainstream they are now.
Oh, for sure. And like, especially because when I first started cosplaying, we didn't have the same kind of resources that we have now. We didn't have Warbla. We didn't
EVA foam.
have, yeah, we didn't have EVA foam. We didn't have, you know, the big selection of wigs even that we have now. There were two wig sites and one site where you could get extensions, and you hope to God that they all matched, and then you'd go from there, you know.
No, you weren't able to. I mean, I've known about. I've my first convention was back in 2017, but I knew about cosplay and conventions for 13 years, and I think a lot of people, should be lucky now because, like you said, unless you were in theater, had the money, or you were an actor or some kind of well-known person in the media, in that sense, like you said, you weren't able to afford the stuff that you can easily go on Amazon or Joann's or Michael's and get for like a fair price.
Right, yeah. And I actually learned how to sew because I would take like thrift store items and I would cut them up and put them back together to create cosplays. Which, now you can just go on the internet and find a pattern for, say, Sailor Moon, and it has all the instructions and everything. But back when I was first cosplaying, you couldn't do that. So you would do what you had to do. If you managed to find someone who could sew for you, then you got really lucky. But otherwise, it was just trying to, put pieces together and hope that it looked okay.
Just cross your fingers and pray.
Yep, exactly.
And I know a lot of cosplayers are happy now that, they can afford lace front wigs, despite some of them being like, if you go on Etsy, and I'm not crapping on anyone who sells, who works on Etsy, but I have to say, buying lace front, if you're willing to pay like the $300 to $200 for a lace front wig, it is so worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I have spent hundreds of dollars on just a wig that has been styled for me to get it accurate and the way that I want it, and that's part of the hobby. I mean, it's not a cheap hobby. It's never been a cheap hobby, and that's one of the stigmas that people have, is that, oh well, you can go get $100 cosplay on Amazon, which is true. I mean, you can, but you're also getting what you paid for, and it might not
Mm-hmm.
be the best quality. Whereas, if you get something commissioned and you pay like $500 or $600, it's gonna look better, it's gonna wear better, and it's just gonna be a better cosplay in general.
Oh no, I wholeheartedly agree on that. I mean, excuse me. I think most people need to realize that, cosplayers in general, especially newbie cosplayers who've been doing this for a couple of years now, they don't realize how easy they have it compared to how people 20, 10, 20 years ago, how they basically had to like pray that, they could afford that one thing for their cosplay that, you can just get by the click of a button.
Oh yeah. I mean, I remember walking through the convention halls at SakuraCon back in the early, 2000s, and seeing like Sasami from Tenchi, and someone made her wig out of foam that they bought at Joann's, because that's the only resource they were able to get. Whereas now, I mean, you could literally buy a wig for that character online for less than it would be to make it out of foam.
Yeah, no, it's definitely crazy.
Hmm.
And then some people still make wigs out of different materials instead of just buying it, because sometimes making a wig from a different material is cheaper than buying a $200 wig or some cheapo wig that won't last long.
Right, right. And I've, I mean, I've seen cool stuff. And it's all about artistic liberties, which is the cool thing about cosplay, is that yes, you can make it screen accurate, but at the same time, you can make your own spin on it. You can take like any type of character and just do whatever you want, use whatever materials you want to make it your own. And I find that super cool. And the people that do that, I give you mad props for that, because I am a perfectionist personally, and I will do screen accurate. But I do have friends who don't do screen accurate and they just do whatever they want. And I find that really cool that they're able to do that and their costumes still look awesome.
Yeah, again, mad props,
Yeah.
it takes a lot of work, but I imagine in the end it's very worth it though. That's for
Hmm.
sure. Um
Yeah.
so next question for about a con.
Hmm.
What advice would you like to give for first time con goers or first time cosplayers who are thinking about going to their first con, whether it be a small con or a really big con like Sakura Con or San Diego Comic Con?
Um, Definitely don't be intimidated. It can be really scary because you'll see cosplayers that you may think look better than you, and that's not true. I actually had a um, incident at KumoriCon a couple of years ago where I was dressed as Alucard from Castlevania, and another Alucard walked by and said that I looked better than him, and I was like, no, it's all about having fun and being who you are, and just have a blast. Don't even worry about it.
How long ago was that?
That was actually 2 years ago.
Okay, so you were cosplaying him from the anime or a video game?
Well, it was kind of like a mix between both. I believe it was more of the game version because I had like the vest and more of the accessories than the anime version.
Nice.
Yeah. But it was more of like don't feel intimidated, don't feel like you're inferior to someone else because you're not. Everyone starts somewhere. My first cosplay, like I said, was Ed from Cowboy Bebop. I didn't have a wig. I literally just had all the pieces of my in my closet. My mom drew red circles on my face and I wore sandals and I had a blast. And everyone's skill level is different.
I mean, it's fairly a simple character. Like I said, the orange hair, the white T-shirt, the shorts, and again the sandals.
Right. But
Oh,
even so,
and the goggles too, of course.
yes. And it's, I've seen cosplayers come in for the first time and, they look at someone who may has been cosplaying a long time and they just they get really self-conscious because they feel like they may look not as good as that other cosplayer and they don't. I mean, everyone start somewhere. No one is perfect their first time. Nobody is going to ever be perfect, So just have fun. Um, Go with a friend or, wander around, go to a panel. Just enjoy yourself and know that we're all in the long scheme of things, we're all a big cosplay family and we're all here because we love anime and video games and cosplaying.
Oh no, I wholeheartedly agree on that. Um,
Mhm.
Now another question. It kind of pertains to cosplay before we start talking about your cosplay and convention experiences and stuff like that. What is your thought on thrifting, whether you be a cosplayer on a budget or a first-time cosplayer and you don't want to try to make your own cosplay?
Oh, I've done that. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, if you can find something at a thrift store that you can use for your costume, awesome. Do it. I've literally found pieces where I was like, okay, all I need to do is hot glue something onto this shirt and I'm done, or this is the perfect dress for this character. Thrifting is awesome. It's a great resource. You can also find sheets for fabric for super cheap. Sheets are a high thread count and they're great for practicing sewing.
Oh no, definitely. I mean, nowadays you can also, if you want to spend the extra money, you can go to Joann's and buy Yaya Han's fabrics.
You can. Um but her fabrics are more targeted towards certain types of costumes.
Mm-hmm.
Like the bodysuit type fabrics. So I mean, I've made cosplays out of sheets and it's looked awesome. It's a higher thread count than the cottons that you can get at Joann's, and personally, I think it looks better. So if you're trying to be on a budget and you can only afford to go thrifting, do it. Why not?
Mind sharing what one of your thrifted cosplays was?
Oh gosh, who was it? It was actually Rhyme from The World Ends With You.
How do you spell that? Rhymes? Is it Ryme?
Rhyme.
Rhyme. Okay.
Yes.
From the world ends with you. Okay, I've never
Yes.
heard of that anime before.
It's actually a video game.
Uh, yeah, again, my age is showing.
But it was literally, so I went to the thrift store and I bought a bunch of pieces. I cut them up and I altered them into the cosplay, and it looked really great, and I hot glued the entire thing together and no one even knew it was hot glued. So that's
Wait,
my secret. I
you?
hot glued it all.
That's impressive.
I didn't have a sewing machine at the time, so I just cut out all the pieces and hot glued them together. That's my secret, you guys. I'm revealing my secret of my rhyme cosplay.
Oh, I've heard of. Okay, I've heard of the character. The character
Yeah,
looks vaguely like the characters you see in Kingdom Hearts: Dream Drop Distance.
I believe one of the characters at least was in that game.
Yeah.
One of the Kingdom Hearts, yeah.
Yeah, the kid who wears the purple headphones.
Neku, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was in Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the character now. It's like, okay, now I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, that whole thing was thrifted and hot glued together.
That looks impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, wow. Now on to talking about your cosplays and everything
Okay.
and advice you have on that kind of stuff. What would you say your all-time favorite cosplay is? Like, as a cosplay, you always, if given the chance, you'll cosplay at a con or just for the hell of it.
Well, I actually have already done that. My dream cosplay was Eternal Sailor Moon from the old school musicals.
Wait,
Um,
there was musicals on Sailor Moon. Oh,
there are
wait,
still musicals going on, but yes,
and this Eternal what?
Sailor Moon.
Eternal Sailor. Okay.
Um,
Oh wait, there are musicals.
yes, yeah. So I had been wanting to do this cosplay since I was about 15, but it was very big, very flamboyant, and very expensive to get it made. I finally got the opportunity a couple years ago to cosplay that version of her, and it was a phenomenal experience because it was my dream cosplay for so long. I finally had a job that could allow me to afford to make it, and it turned out awesome. It was pretty much stage accurate, and I got so many compliments and just had a blast wearing it.
Nice.
Yeah.
How long did that take you to make?
I actually had that one commissioned just because of the materials that it would take to make the cosplay. I was not familiar with sewing with that kind of material and that type of fabric, so I wanted someone who was skilled with more specialty fabrics to take on the project. And the person who did an amazing job. She is actually now one of my good friends, and I highly recommend her to people all the time. Her work is just absolutely phenomenal.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, I think I've noticed you. I think it's actually on your the photo you sent me for the thumbnail. What's the name of that character that you cosplayed from Persona 5? The girl with the
That
red
would
hair and
be
glasses.
Futaba.
Futaba?
Yes.
Fu- I'm writing this down so I can remind myself who we were talking about, so I can send you the list later. Nice.
Yeah.
What was it like cosplaying as her?
She was really fun. She's kind of a little geeky character. And she's pretty outgoing and stuff, and so I could really resonate with her because I'm a pretty outgoing person. And she's just, I liked her design, and I'm like, she's awesome, she's cute, and I want that costume on my body.
Well, I'm glad that it seems like you enjoyed cosplaying that character.
I sure did. I enjoy cosplaying most of the characters that I do. I don't think there's been one that I don't really like.
Well, I mean, I usually don't ask this question until after. Has there been that? Have you? Do you have that one and done cosplay? Like you've worn it once and you haven't worn it since. Like it's just yeah.
See, that's a hard question because that's a lot of my costumes.
Well, like okay, like the one specifically, like it was one that you just weren't a big fan of after wearing it for so long.
Oh, let's see. Well, that's still a hard question because like my weight has fluctuated a lot. So a lot of the older costumes that I had I can't wear currently. But one that I really haven't considered wearing again would probably be Saber from Fate Stay Night or like the Fate series.
Isn't she the
Um
one with the blonde hair and wears
yeah,
that
yeah,
dress and she looks like a knight wearing a dress?
yeah. I found other characters from Fate that I really like more than her. So I don't think she would be one that I would ever really cosplay again. Unless there was like a skin outfit that came out that I really liked. But her traditional outfit, I don't think I'd really wear that one again.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I know everyone has that one cosplay that it was great at the time, but now it's like I don't think so, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Let's see here now. Now what's the one cosplay that you haven't done in so long that you would love to bring back?
Oh gosh.
These are usually the
I've done
questions that
so
stump a lot.
many.
These are usually the kind of questions that just stump a lot of people.
You know, probably Aang from Avatar. I cosplayed him a very long time ago, and it was another costume that I thrifted and sewed together. Um, and that would be one that I would want to make with better materials, and get a better wig cap or a bald cap for him and do a better job with it, especially with like the new RPG game that's coming out for Avatar. I feel like there's going to be a big influx of Avatar: The Last Airbender cosplayers. So I would just love to have that costume again.
Nice. And
Yeah.
you said you had a bald cap as well?
I did, yeah. I was not going to shave my head. I
Hey, I
was like, that's
mean,
not an option I'm going
I've
to
seen
do.
I've seen some cosplayers fully commit to, doing things they normally wouldn't do to make the cosplay as accurate as possible. But they do make some pretty realistic looking bald caps too.
Oh, for sure, yeah. But I mean, this was a long time ago, before we had some of the resources that we have now. So I kind of just had to work with what I had. It turned out pretty good for being like my first time really making my own costume. But I would definitely want to do it again, especially with the knowledge that I have now in regards to sewing and like wig work and all of that.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Now, since you've been cosplaying for almost 20 years, and you've cosplayed a lot of older characters, what would you say like year wise? What would you say the oldest character you've cosplayed as was
Um, Probably Ranma.
from Ranma One Half?
Yes.
When they turn into a boy or when they turn into a girl?
I've done both girl type Ranma and shampoo.
Nice.
Hmm.
So I remember when I first watched that anime a few years ago, back in good old 2011 on the internet, and my favorite character, I have to say, I know this is kind of a topic, is the panda.
Oh yes, he's great.
So what was it like cosplaying Ranma One Half? Because I know they're basically the same character. It's just I know one has orange hair and then one has black hair.
It was fun. I love the reaction that people have when they see an older anime character being cosplayed. They get really excited, especially people my age. I'm in my 30s, and I still get excited when I see a character from something that's super old, that I watched when I was a kid, and it's a cool feeling because people are like, "Oh, hey, you're Ranma," or "You're Shampoo," or "You're whoever." And it's just fun, and I love cosplaying older stuff because of the reaction that people will have.
Nice.
Mhm.
I think that's like the best thing, especially in a previous podcast I did. We were talking about how like when you cosplay a certain character and you see like these little kids, these younger cosplayers like recognize that said character, and you just get so much recognition that it just puts a smile on your face. I think.
Right, exactly. And like I have a friend who is super into Rumiko Takahashi's work, and her and her husband and their son, who's like 6 or 7 now, does Ranma cosplay, and they have their own little group, and her son just gets super excited when he sees anyone else cosplaying from Ranma.
Nice.
Yeah.
Again, I think if you can get if you can like you said, if you can get your kids or any family or friends into this, even if they're not, even if they're skeptical, like I've heard stories where people have gotten their friends or family into this kind of stuff, and it's just they have a blast, which I think is always cool to see.
Yeah, I actually I've been trying to convince my parents to cosplay with me.
And how's that been going for you so far?
My stepdad is actually really interested in it. My mom is kind of interested in it, but not really. I'm just like, "Hey, come on, mom, like it'll be fun." So maybe one day.
One of these days, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Now with you making your own cosplays, what's like the biggest project you ever took on?
Um, oh boy. That's a hard one. 'Cause I both commission cosplays and make cosplays.
Oh,
So,
okay. So the one you've made for your so we'll start with the one you made for yourself, and then the one you commissioned.
okay. So one that I made for myself. What have I made for myself? Um, I would say probably the one that I'm working on now, which is Deedlit from Record of Lodoss War. Um,
Deed lit.
yes, Deedlit, that's Deedlit.
I have never heard. Okay, or is this from a video game, anime?
It's a very old anime.
What's the anime called?
Record of Lodoss War.
Record of Lotus War or Ward?
War.
Record. Okay, I'm looking at. Continue. I'm looking that up right now.
So she like her dress is pretty simple, but she has like a cape with armor over it. So that's a pretty new thing for me. I have never made armor before. So that's gonna be a new
Oh,
experience for me.
it's even a video game.
Mm-hmm. Um, the dress is not going to be too hard to make, but I'm going to have to use like Worbla and some EVA foam to make the shoulder pads and the armor. So that's going to be a longer project for me just because I get to experiment with different types of foam and Worbla and such. So I'm really excited to actually get to the armor portion of it. The
Yeah,
dress is going to be easy
I'm
though.
looking at her character right now. She kind of resembles, and anyone who's listening to this, do not hate me or at me, but she kind of looks like Zelda from Legend of Zelda.
A little bit, yeah. I think it probably came out around the same time as Zelda did.
She looks like a cross between Zelda and a Gelfling from Dark Crystal.
Yeah, but that that series is very good. It's also very, very old. Um, but I'm definitely looking forward to getting that cosplay done. I'm planning hopefully to have it done by SakuraCon this upcoming year, so
Nice.
yeah.
Well, by the time this episode comes out, I'll be making sure if you have a photo by then, I'll make sure to add it to this episode.
Oh, definitely.
That'll be a pretty cool. So, what do you think the most challenging part for that cosplay is going to be?
Probably the armor, just
Because
because I've never made armor before.
that's going to take a lot of warp light and EVA foam, that's for sure.
Yeah. Um, but it's, not like a whole suit of armor. It's just like a chest piece and then the big shoulder pads. I actually went and downloaded Kamui Cosplay's uh armor patterns, so
Thank
that'll be a
God
good
for
guide.
Svetlana's cosplay how to for big armor.
I know she is wonderful, and
She,
thank God she has patterns out.
I know she has like a book, I think, too.
She does, yeah. She has great tutorials. So if any one of you needs tutorials, Kamui Cosplay has got some of the best tutorials, books, patterns out there for decently priced, and
Uh,
they're all patterns that you can mix and
I
match
mean,
to make your own
her
pieces.
Monster Hunter world and her Aloy cosplays are just so perfect.
They really are.
I mean, and look where she started, for example. She's been doing this for a very long time. I mean, looking back at her earlier cosplays, like her Moogle cosplay and everything, to what she's doing now, I mean, that right there shows you, you know, starting from the bottom, working your way up to that. That is like dedication
Right.
right there.
Right. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like everyone starts somewhere, and no one's going to be perfect right off the bat.
Big as Michael Fassbender once said, and Prometheus, big things start from small beginnings.
Yeah, exactly. That's very true.
Man, that's just crazy. Now, what's like the biggest cosplay you've commissioned for someone?
Um, oh, I've commissioned quite a few things. Um, so my Eternal Sailor Moon was not only expensive, but it was also huge. But also my Marie Antoinette's cosplay that I had commissioned, I had two hoop skirts underneath it, and four people can go under my dress.
Wait, you cosplayed as Marie Antoinette?
I did. There was actually an anime that came out in 1979, I think, called Rose of Versailles, and there's a character named Marie Antoinette. So actually, that is the oldest one, not Ranma.
I don't think I've ever heard of that anime. The oldest anime I've ever watched so far, and this actually will probably show my age, was Go Speed Racer Go from the 60s.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Rose of Versailles came out in 1979. And in 2019 it was the 40th anniversary for that anime.
It's called Rose
So
of what?
Versailles, like the Palace of Versailles
Oh,
in
oh, from
France.
France. Okay.
Yes. And it's about Marie Antoinette and another character. Um,
Oh yeah, that the animation shows.
yes, it's very good though. And 2019 was the 40th anniversary, so I was like, I need to cosplay Marie Antoinette. So I did.
Oh wow, yeah, I'm looking at her dress right now. That's a lot of pink.
Yes. And I,
And
like
you
I
weren't
said,
kidding. You weren't kidding. You could fit four freaking people under that. You can
I did.
you
I
can
did put four people under.
you can smuggle people into a con in that thing. Don't do that, but hey, you can smuggle people into that thing into a
I
con.
So I actually had to get dressed in the hotel hallway because my skirt was so big.
It wouldn't fit through the your
I
hotel
would
room
not fit
door.
through the door. I
Oh,
would not fit through
jeez.
the door. Yeah.
God, that's a big freaking. Now have you also made cosplays for people?
I have not. My sewing skills are not nearly as good as other people's. I do not feel confident enough to ever make anything for someone. Um, I've made like little like accessories for people, but just like my friends. But I've never like really charged anyone for making an accessory or something, or like minor sewing or like helping someone finish something. But um, I don't I would never do that personally.
That's totally understandable. Back to your Marie Antoinette.
Yes.
Oh, excuse me. How long did it take to make her outfit? Because, like I said, I'm looking at it. I can't imagine, one, that had to take a long time. Two, I imagine that took a group of people to help get that commission, that cosplay made. Because I can't imagine just one person making that
It
outfit.
actually was one person who made it for me.
Oh, jeez.
Um, she's the same person that made my Sailor Moon. Um, she does phenomenal work. I don't know how long it took her to actually make it. But I was like, I want sparkly fabric, and she went and bought sparkly pink fabric
Um,
and created this beautiful masterpiece.
mind if you know the person's name, mind giving them a shout out?
Oh yeah, her shop name is Black Rattle
I've
Designs.
heard of her.
Yes. Um
She makes lovely, and I mean, she makes lovely stuff.
she does, and she's a wonderful person. She's up in Canada. And her prices are pretty expensive, but the work is phenomenal, so she's definitely worth it.
Oh no,
Um
I believe it.
yeah, she also made my Alucard. Um that one was also pretty detailed, and she's done just absolutely phenomenal work. She's made about, I want to say, 6 of my cosplays for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are some of the other cosplays that she made for you? Seems like
So
you're a return. It sounds like you're a returning customer.
I sure am. So she's made Ellie from Love Live, um, Eternal Sailor Moon, Princess Serenity from Sailor Moon.
Ooh, the one with the where she's wearing the white dress at the beginning of the anime.
Yes. Um, Hinata from Naruto.
Which version of Hinata?
It's the dress that she wears in the last movie. So the
I've
purple
uh,
coat. She's got like skirt.
I've never seen the movie.
Oh, well, it's a very like casual looking outfit. Um, uh, and then Alucard, and I think that's it.
Nice. So it seems like well, I'm glad. I'm sure she appreciates your business. Then, if you're commissioning her to make these very elaborate, expensive cosplays, I mean,
Yes,
if you have the money and you have the time, now does she do payment plans?
she does. Yeah, it's not like,
You need
$1,000
to pay
up front.
$1,000 right now if you want this dress.
Right, right. Yeah. She's very flexible. And what I like is that she can work with plus size bodies. And that's a very important thing because a lot of companies out there do not make plus size
No,
costumes.
I've seen my fair share. Just people got to realize, especially plus size cosplayers, it may cost more because that's more fabric needed to fit whatever body type.
Right. But at the same time, like you don't want to overcharge somebody. And Carol's prices are very fair. She's also a professional, so
She charges the right amount too.
right,
She has
exactly.
every right to choose her prices. If she's a professional, she has every right to choose her prices.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's the thing with commissioning versus buying your cosplay from, eBay or Amazon or something. You're gonna get what you paid for, and if you're paying a lot more money, you're gonna get a better quality costume that's not gonna fall apart after wearing it twice.
Yeah, I learned that. I learned that by purchasing a Professor Snape cosplay from eBay that didn't really fit well.
Yeah, you're gonna get that too. The biggest thing, my biggest gripe with buying cosplay from eBay or Amazon is that even if you get it custom made, quote unquote, um,
Yeah.
a lot of Asian seamstresses don't know how to work with American style bodies, and so I'll have something that fits everywhere but in the armholes.
That's not fun at all.
Yeah, because I have bigger arms, I'm also have broader shoulders, even as a woman. So, it I'm not built like a standard size.
You know, I mean, and this actually, I about plus size cosplaying. I recently did a podcast, not posted yet, talked about plus size cosplay and how, like the advice they give, what the also we talked about, what's that one cosplay that you did that most people will, say, oh, you shouldn't be cosplaying that because of your, your figure, but you did it anyway. So that kind of brings me to my question: do you have that one cosplay that people are saying, oh, you shouldn't cosplay it because you're this, but you cosplayed it anyway because it's a character you wanted to cosplay as for a long time?
You know, I really don't care what people think. I cosplay what I want. Um, I've stopped caring because that just makes my life miserable when I sit there and care about what people think. I'm not there to impress people. I'm there to have fun and cosplay what I want. So, I, but I have heard negative comments about certain things that I have done, and I just don't care. Um, I mean, I've had people tell me that I look bad in as Sailor Moon, and I just I really don't care.
I've actually taken a look at your Sailor Moon, and it's really well done.
Thank you.
I'm
Yeah,
glad, I'm
and
glad to see, a lot of people wanted to cosplay classic characters again.
right, yeah.
Um, any advice you would like to give to any plus size cosplayer who may have doubts about cosplaying certain characters?
Um, you know, cosplay who you want and don't worry about what people are going to think because you're there to have fun. You're there to have a good time. You're there to and you're cosplaying that character because you love that character. And don't be ashamed to show who you are. And if you have to make certain alterations like making something slightly longer than it normally is or adding a panel into something or whatever, then do it and don't care what people think of you because like I said, you're there to have fun. You're not there to, you know,
Impress.
right, impress anyone or, you know, to be in a contest unless you're in the contest, but that's a completely separate issue in itself.
You're more so doing it for you because it's a character you've enjoyed, it's a character you've grew up watching or playing or reading about, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, and just because you're plus size doesn't mean you won't look good in your costume.
It just, there you may, like you said, you may have to make some slight alterations.
Right. I mean, I'm a plus size cosplayer and I have looked amazing in a lot of my costumes. I've gotten so many compliments on certain costumes that I've worn and, I'm sure people have left negative comments about it, but I don't care. Um because I did the cosplay and I enjoyed doing it.
And that's really that should matter, really.
Mhm.
Now that you mentioned about cosplay competitions in your 20 years of cosplaying, almost 20 years of cosplaying, have you entered any contests yourself?
I have not done any costume contests. I did do skit contests back when I was first cosplaying. I did a lot of skit stuff, but I just ended up not really enjoying it as much as I thought I would enjoy it, so I haven't done those in years.
Mind sharing, if you want to, mind sharing your experience on how that was, briefly.
It was fun, but this was back before they had the same technology that they do now in regards to like the skit contests. So we didn't have mics, so you basically had to like scream into the audience and hope that they heard you.
Oh, jeez.
Um, and the costumes were not as well made as they are now. And you have if you're not used to being like in theater or on a stage, you get that bright lights pounding in your eyes and yeah. So, I mean, it was fun when I was younger, but I don't think it would be something that I would do again unless it was a skit that I really thought would be fun to do.
That makes
Hmm.
sense. I guess now, any advice for any first time cosplayers considering on entering a contest or a as it was called back then, a masquerade?
Well, so if they're going to join like the costume contest where you get your costume judged and you walk on the stage, pick something that is really simple, especially if you're a first-time cosplayer. You don't want to try to make something that's super crazy and super hard on your first costume. You're going to drive yourself nuts and you're not going to do as good of a job as you think you're going to do. Whereas if you pick something simpler, you're not going to stress out about it as much and you're going to do better work, in my personal opinion at least, and you're going to be more satisfied with the results that you get.
Yeah, that's some pretty sound advice. Now, with some of the characters you cosplayed as, because I know they wear heels like Sailor Moon. What's it been like wearing like heels or shoes like that when cosplaying and going to cons?
Oh boy. Oh, okay. So I have a story about this.
Um,
I I made the stupid mistake of in 2019 wearing four costumes that had heeled shoes. And we're talking stilettos for all four of them.
oh jeez. Mind
Uh,
saying who those characters were?
oh, I only remember two of them because it was a very long time ago. But I did Melfina from Outlaw Star. And I actually wore heels for Alucard so that I was really tall.
What so this is kind of a double part question now that you brought it up. What was the experience slash horror story you had while wearing stilettos?
Let's just say I had to take a lift back to my hotel room because I could not walk at the end of the day.
How much walking were you doing in stilettos?
A lot because it was a lot. And, I was in full cosplay, so I had my makeup, I had my wig, my full costume with the jacket and everything, and then wearing 4-inch or 4.5-inch stilettos on top of that. I'm only 5'4", so it made me almost
6 foot.
5'9".
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
And the character's name was Melfina. How do you spell that name?
Melfina.
Okay.
Melfina. Hers were not as tall as Alucard's.
And what is she from again?
She's from Outlaw Star. If you
Continue.
watch Toonami, it was on Toonami.
Oh my
Um,
god, I remember her now.
yes, she's the one that
Yeah,
was in the tank,
how can I forget the girl? Yeah,
the tank girl. But yeah, hers weren't too bad. But Alucard's were the super high stilettos, and that costume in itself is very warm and very heavy.
not to mention a
Um,
lot of black.
Yeah. So by the end of the day, I was just so done, and I was like, I'm never doing this to myself again, which is a lie because I will do it to myself again.
I asked a cosplayer a while back, a drag queen cosplayer, by the name of Miss Demanda Martini. Really fun person to talk to. I'm gonna ask the same question as I asked her. Advice for whether you're a male or female when it comes to wearing heels for a cosplay. Oh, in your case, stilettos.
Didn't matter. I mean, if you think that you want to wear stilettos with your character or just heels in general, then go for it. I actually have a friend who is a male and he cosplays as female characters and will get stilettos in his size and wear them, and he's awesome for it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that the person break their shoes in before going to a con?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I did not do that, which I feel like is probably the reason why I suffered so much.
For shame.
Um, but yes, definitely break in your shoes. Get insoles if you need to. Um, Bring flats. Like that's a big thing. People have started doing that. So I
But
have
and
friends
it's also
who will-
good to break in those slats too.
yeah, so I have people who will bring like flats with them and just wear them as they're walking around for the con and then put their heels on for pictures, which is a very smart thing to do. I need to do that. I need to get a pair of flats. I don't know why I haven't yet, but
Now, kind of in that topic, have you ever had a cosplay something ripped, torn, broke, snapped, fell off, whether it was getting ready for the con, at the con, or getting ready to have your picture taken?
oh, yeah, I feel like everyone has had that happen at least once. Um, I don't remember specifically what costume it was, but I know that I have had things fall off. I've had, zippers break when you're putting the costume on. Um, I know I've had zippers get stuck like when you're taking stuff off, and so you basically have to like rip it open
Oh
to
no.
get to get out of it. Um, but I feel like that's something that's happened to everybody, like, and it's going to happen to everybody regardless. There's always going to be some sort of, faux pas that happens.
Some kind of cosplay malfunction of sorts.
Right, right. And so I always try to bring like needle and thread and like a glue gun.
Or if you're lucky enough, the con will have a cosplay repair station.
Yes, yeah, I've had that happen too, where you just go in, get what you need, and go out.
Nice. Now, back to one of the earlier questions asked about convention experience. To quote Crush from Finding Nemo, would it be wise for your first con or any con to bring an exit buddy with you? So if you're if you're if you're like feeling too tired or something, or you're being harassed by some people, it's good to have that friend with you to help get you out of that situation or out of the con.
Well, sure. I mean, that's always a good idea. It's always a good idea to be with someone in general. The buddy system is great. Um, I know so many people that I can wander around and always find someone to talk to that I know personally. Um, But if you're going to a con for the first time, try to go with a friend or a parent or, someone that you're close to, because you might get into a situation where you're overwhelmed and you just need to take a step back and breathe. And there's nothing wrong with that. No one is going to judge you for that, because we've all been in a situation where we're just like, I need to take a step, and I need to go outside and catch, a breather or whatever the case is. And I personally think it's more enjoyable when you're with someone.
Oh no, I think that's usually the best in my opinion.
Hmm.
Now, you kind of answered the question, but I figured I want to continue. Do you have any more cosplay, either funny moments, best favorite experience, or horror story you'd like to share?
Okay. One of my absolute favorite moments was when I cosplayed Aang from Avatar. I was walking down the street from my hotel room to the convention, and I was with my friend who was, I believe, Sokka, and there was a little boy across the street who wasn't even a part of the con, and he pulled on his mom's jacket, and he's like, Mommy, it's the Avatar. And he got so excited to see me, and I started waving at him, which made him even more excited, and he's like, Mommy, it's the Avatar. It was awesome.
Aww. I think back to that. If you can make anyone's day cosplaying their favorite character, you did good.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of my favorite things is excuse me, being able to bring a smile to people's faces, especially little kids.
Oh no, I wholeheartedly agree. Now, would you happen to have a cosplay horror story?
Oh, hmm. Yes, actually I do. So, it wasn't really necessarily a cosplay story, more of like a whole disaster that happened with everything.
Oh,
Um, so I went down to a convention in Dallas, Texas. The musical guest was my favorite band in the entire world. So I flew down there, and the people that I stayed with didn't have a hotel room, even though they said they did. So they tried to find us a room. They ended up finding us a room, but it only had one bed in it. Um, they also invited like 7 extra people to stay in the room with us without telling me.
because of course they did.
Right, so we had 15 people in a one bedroom. um, it was hot, and some of my stuff got stolen. And I mean, I could go on for hours about the things that happened at this convention, but it was not a fun time. I mean, it was fun because I got to see the band that I wanted to see, but other than that, it was just a disaster. And me and the two friends that I knew that were with me, we basically demanded our money back from the person who booked the room because we were like, there's 15 people in this room, and there was only supposed to be 5.
Someone apparently doesn't know how to count.
Yeah. Um, I mean, it would have potentially worked if they had a 2-bedroom because obviously those rooms are bigger, but it was a very small room with a king size bed. And so my friends and I were like, well, we paid for the room, so it's our room. We get the bed.
As it usually should be.
Yeah. Um, I mean, besides the disaster though, that, you know, my stuff got stolen and um that whole incident with the bed and the room, it was a pretty decent con.
I
But
mean, A for effort, I guess.
yeah, yeah. Well, that I would have to say has been the worst thing that's ever happened to me, and that was back in 2011, so that was over 10
10
years
years
ago.
ago.
Yeah.
Jeez. Now, to one of the other questions I ask, any future cosplays or projects that you're working on that you would like to share, like the ones you're currently working on, or ones that you would like to do later down the road?
So as I mentioned earlier, I'm working on Deedlit. Um, I am potentially going to cosplay as someone from Genshin Impact. I'm not sure who yet. There's a lot of choices. Um, and there's a lot of the characters that I want to cosplay. Trying to think who else I'm gonna cosplay. Katarina from My Next Life as a Villainess. I'm gonna cosplay as her.
I've seen like I think it was on I think I saw like an ad for that like on for Crunchyroll.
Mhm. It's very good.
Oh,
uh,
is her name Katarina or Catalina?
Katarina.
Katarina. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So those are like the two oh Vincent Valentine. I'm also gonna cosplay him.
Oh, wait, okay. So I gotta ask, his Dirge Cerberus version or when he was still a Turk?
George Cerberus.
Okay, so
Yeah. I get the shiny arm.
such a good game, but so much wasted potential.
I have the gun made and it looks amazing.
He's one of my favorite characters, not to mention he's voiced by Steve Bloom.
Yes. I love him. He was my first video game crush. 14-year-old me was absolutely in love with him.
Mine was Riku from Final Fantasy X,
That's fair. She's very cute.
and she's voiced by Tara Strong, so I mean,
If I had to pick someone from 10, I would pick Yuna.
naturally.
I've also cosplayed as Yuna.
Nice.
Yes.
Wait, okay. Summoner Yuna or Gunslinger Yuna from 10-2?
Summoner Yuna.
Okay, so
From 10.
did you have her summoning staff as well?
I did not. I did not have enough time to make it. I ran out of time.
Such
I literally finished the costume in the hotel room the day before the con.
a nice. What was the hardest thing about Lady Yuna's outfit? Because I know she's got her top, and then I think the most intricate part is her dress, how it fades from like a bluish to like almost like a purplish color.
Probably the obi, because
Oh,
like I
her
said,
her top.
no, her belt, like the yellow belt.
Oh, the bow that goes in the back
Yeah.
that connects to her top and her skirt.
Yeah. So I literally made this in the hotel room the night before the con, so it did not look as good as I wanted it to look, and I rushed it, and it was, I think a lot of it was also hot glued because I just ran out of time and I'm just like, crap, I need to get this done. So, obviously if I remade it, I would make it out of better materials and not hot glue everything, but I was working a lot and just did not have the time to really get it done. And that's another tip that I need to give to people is don't rush your cosplay. You're gonna
No,
drive yourself nuts.
no, I think anyone can agree that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
So before we end this, any last minute advice you'd like to give to any first time cosplayer or con goer who may be listening to this episode?
The biggest thing is just have fun. You know, don't be afraid to cosplay who you want. It's not a contest, unless, of course, you're joining the cosplay contest. Nobody is better than anyone else. We all love anime. We all love video games. We all love cosplay. Um, just be yourself, you know, have a good time, and don't worry about what people think of you. And also, if you're a plus size cosplayer, don't give up. Don't think that you're not worth it. And don't think that you're not good enough because that's not true. And you can cosplay who you want, when you want, and don't let people tell you otherwise.
I I couldn't agree anymore on that. I think that's some sound advice for sure. I think that should do it. Again, Ray, thank you for coming on, for being another cosplay guest for Cosplay Con Talks. Get to know that cosplayer.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciated being on the show. I'm looking forward to hearing it and listening to other people as well.
You are most welcome. Again, I am Wayne the Unknown. Thank you for listening to this episode of Cosplay Con Talks. Get to know that cosplayer. As always, thank you for listening, and until next time, thank you for watching.